Hello, folks. Another episode of Burning Platform. A real pleasure to have Keith Cooper today. He's Vice President of Customer Service at Bergen Logistics in New Jersey. And we're going to have a conversation. I met him at a Zoho event. Great guy. Looking forward to this chat. We're going to talk about how Zoho has helped him and how the industry is evolving. I mean, logistics has gone through so much change in the last few years, robotics and augmented everything. So look forward to this conversation. Keith, thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you spend a couple of minutes talking about your role?
Hi, Vinnie. Great to see you again. Thanks very much for the very kind introduction. Yeah, as you said, I'm Vice President Customer Experience at Bergen Logistics. Basically, this means that from the time a customer is looking for somebody who does what we do, so I'm out there with the marketing group, to them finding us and us working with them to find out what problems we can solve for them. So I'm working with the business development group, the sales operation group for the contracting, and then my customer service group for the maintaining the relationship and making sure that the promises made during the sales period were delivered by my service delivery team. So it's very exciting, very exciting. It was great meeting you at the Zoho event in Austin several weeks ago. And we're super excited about the platform that Zoho continues to roll out for us. When I started at Bergen 4 years ago, I started as a project manager, and my boss was pointing me around different things that needed to be done. And I was seeing other areas at Bergen that weren't really being developed. One of those was the sales operations and the handling of inbound leads and opportunities and the sales process. So I went to market and I measured, the big players out there. Zoho was one of them that I looked at, in addition to Salesforce, HubSpot, some of the others. And I really did a pretty in-depth analysis and came out that Zoho looked like it could do everything else, everything everyone else was able to do, but was a better value proposition. After our time at the Zoholics event in Austin, I thank Zoho because they make that decision look smarter than ever with everything that they've got going on, and every place that they're extending their capabilities into are the exact areas that we're working on getting better at, particularly in marketing, social, and really excited about what they're doing with AI across the board and using it in many different ways.
Well, let's come back to Zoho in a couple of minutes. What I was fascinated by, Keith, was you knew so much about the warehouse operations. You knew about the bots you were running. You just seemed very, very aware of a lot of stuff that typically customer service folks or back office folks don't seem to know as much about. So tell me, I mean, you very modestly call yourself a project manager. You were a lot more than that. Describe a little bit how your role has evolved at Bergen, and then we'll come back to Zoho.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. So started as project manager, but quickly was promoted to director of operational excellence, because what I was working on is processes and systems to enable our business to grow. At the time, we were doing about 60 million a year. We've grown to about 200 million a year in the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
But I did have a lot of life and business experience in many different disciplines. Way in the past, I was a fulfillment manager for a couple of different companies, so I was familiar with the shipping, the receiving, and the warehousing aspect of it. And then I spent a large portion of my career in different areas of sales and marketing. This was an opportunity for me to really coalesce all of the learning and experience that I had to bring them together, to bring solutions to Bergen while we were in this hyper growth stage. And it was just a really, really blessed alignment for me personally, and then I think for the business as well.
So talk a little bit about Bergen. Logistics, obviously, we have everything from vaccine logistics to, I mean, there are so many niches now. Micro fulfillment in the Shopify of the world and the Amazons of the world. So describe your niche, and I mean, that's tremendous growth in 4 years.
So I just wanted to share a little bit about Bergen Logistics, give you an understanding of who we are, what we do, and what mind space we're looking to occupy in the market. So at a glance, we're really a tech-driven leader in the 3PL services for better to luxury industry. And it's an interesting discussion that we have. Are we a third-party logistics company that's tech forward, or are we a tech company that happens to be in the logistics industry? And we really lean heavily on the tech part of it. And I'll share that with you as we go through a few more of these slides. As the numbers go, we've been in business 25 years. This is actually our 25th anniversary year. We have more than 800 employees worldwide. 10 strategically placed fulfillment locations. Now, those are Bergen branded locations in the United States, Canada, Netherlands, and the UK. And you'll see in a moment with our partnership through Elanders, who acquired Bergen about 2 years ago. We have hundreds of locations globally.
So two questions on that. 2.2 million square feet across 10 locations. So your warehouses are not that big then.
We have some smaller facilities. We have some in the 40,000 square foot range that are more tactical and strategic for areas or clients we may be serving. And then we have facilities in the 400 and 500,000 square foot range as well.
Okay.
So what we do, again, we lead primarily with the logistics technology solutions, omni-channel fulfillment. So we're a direct-to-consumer and business-to-business as well, e-commerce fulfillment, subscription box fulfillment. So a lot of people are familiar with the monthly shipment that you may get. We do that out of one of our facilities. Freight solutions. Shipping is one of the primary and largest single line item costs for a direct-to-consumer company, for a brand. So we work with them on how to reduce their costs there. We also do 4PL management and consulting solutions. So people that want to keep their own warehouse but want our expertise in helping them run it. We do a lot of solutions in that manner. Value-added services in the form of putting clothes on hangers or putting price stickers or doing some additional customer journey type of packaging. And then back office services, meaning for clients that don't have the in-house resources to be able to do billing or accounts receivable. We provide a lot of back office services for those brands as well.
So pretty big range. Then you do micro fulfillment for B2C, I presume. And then B2B is more pallet based.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. A global footprint, as I mentioned a couple slides ago. We've got the 10 locations in the US, Canada, and then locations all over Europe, Netherlands, UK, Germany, and a very strong footprint as well in the Asia Pac, particularly in China, and then location in Brazil. A majority of these were facilities that are available for our fulfillment partners through our partnership with Elanders.
Pretty impressive.
Thank you. I mentioned technology, so I just wanted a quick slide on our advanced proprietary WMS technology, which is called CloudX. A lot of 3PLs make the decision whether it's build or buy. Are you going to build it yourself? And if you're going to build it yourself, you have to commit to the ongoing development and support of a software application. If you buy it, then you are pretty much stuck with what you get out of the box, and any changes you want to do, you've got to really work with the provider of the technology or of the solution to do so. Also, for our scale, the size of the buy opportunity would be very difficult for us to be able to still have a great value proposition while maintaining said platform. So we did find early on that the build it yourself was probably our best look. And so we continue to support it. We have nearshore and offshore development. We have build and maintain teams. So we've really built an excellent industry leading platform that gives our customers really excellent visibility to all of their goods, to their entire inventory, and to every activity that's going on within the supply chain, whether it's goods that are being inbound, goods that are being received, goods that are being processed, or orders that are going out. So the integrations that we have available, that we have built to multiple D2C and business-to-business platforms is excellent. It's very broad. And again, having the development team in-house gives us an unmatched capability as far as flexibility to give customers what they want, not just what we have. So we like to say we standardize on our customization.
So Keith, I presume this is software, the robotics, the sensors, the scanners, and all that you buy from third parties?
Yeah, we have a number of different providers, but yeah, those are all the hardware that interfaces with the WMS software for sure. Quick look at our team. Excellent seasoned professionals with the industry. This was my COVID look. Two of the more significant people on this slide. Number one, Ron Roman, our founder and CEO, recognized as a leader in this industry, particular for apparel logistics. If somebody is talking about apparel logistics, it's hard to talk about it without Ron's name coming up. And then Charles Zickus, who's our president and chief operating officer and is an operations savant. He was responsible for building out the facility for Rent the Runway, which most people know as being a behemoth in the clothing fulfillment industry. So we've got just really powerhouse people within the operations and all segments of our business. So really proud of our team here. And then, one of the things that's important for us, and if you listen to Simon Sinek, you hear this, and he talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? So we, a couple of years ago, realized that we really wanted to become a purpose-driven organization. And so on our way to being that, we've developed our vision, mission, value statement that help inform us to, when we get up in the morning, what is it that we're going to do? What is it we're going into battle for? What are we trying to achieve by being here? Because I can do what I do here at Bergen, or I can do it somewhere else. So I want to know that the company that I'm working with, their values and where they want to go as a company is part of the journey that I want to be on as an individual and as part of the team. So we're really proud of who we are and of what we stand for. And then our values themselves, we just find they really they help inform our decisions too. When we get into a situation where we've got to figure out the best way forward, when we look to this, it becomes pretty clear. It really helps us make the right decision, especially in challenging times.
Everyone talks about sustainability. How does that show up in the logistics space?
Within the logistics space, sustainability goes all the way up and down the chain, from eliminating or reducing your carbon footprint. We find that some of our carriers have really good solutions there to help do so. We look at generating a lot of our own electricity through solar panels on our roofs as much as possible. We look at the traditional reduce, reuse, recycle. Let's make sure that we are minimizing the materials that we're using, the materials that we're putting into either the recycling or the trash facilities, and then do what we can as far as eliminating our use of energy. We have some energy programs in place for reducing the amount of electricity we're using, particularly on hot days in the Northeast, making sure that we're keeping the temperature within an acceptable range for our employees, but also keeping doors shut, making sure we're not cooling the outdoors. We have light sensors in all of our facilities, so we don't keep all the lights on in every area all the time. They're motion censored, motion activated. So just the list goes on and on as far as initiatives, and we continue to try to find new areas where we can, again, reduce, reuse, recycle, and reduce our carbon footprint as part of the entire logistics chain.
Have you looked at reverse logistics and some of the, there's quite a bit of work being done around fabric renting and fabric refurbishment. reuse, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, Vinny. What we have is a lot of our brands, they buy a season of fashion. They sell as much as they can. They get to the end of the season, or it's next year. They've got the colors aren't the right colors anymore because it is, haute couture. So then, what do they do with what's left on the shelf? The more it sits on the shelf or on a hanger or on a rack, the more their cost factor goes up on it. Their cash flow gets sucked. So a lot of our brands are using renderers where they'll take whether they donate it uh, to lesser needs organizations that may benefit from having the clothing, or whether they sell it at reduced price in secondary markets, or whether they recycle it and put it through a rendering machine, and then it becomes a new fabric. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of solutions that get put into place there. So again, tech-driven, omni-channel, and of course, customer service. Number one, that's one of the areas that I like to focus on heavily. If you're easy to do business with, even when there's a problem, people will continue to do business with you. If you're hard to do business with, even when things are going well, people will find somewhere else, because it's all about relationships in the end.
And this is Keith's claim to fame: customer service.
Yes, indeed. And that's what I got.
Well, that's a great quick overview. Thank you. Fairly global, part of a global firm.
Yeah.
Zoho has the reputation of being much more of a mid-market to small business solution, right? So describe your journey with Zoho, the starting point, and then how they've kept up with your growth. I mean, clearly you've pushed them pretty hard, I would imagine.
It's been an excellent partnership from the beginning. When we looked around, we came on as a CRM customer with 10 licenses, 10 seats, and it worked very well. We did DIY implementation. We did it ourselves so we could learn it, and we wanted to have the control and the ability to make changes on the fly from our group, from the sales operations group. So the enablement and the standardization of the sales process and the tracking, we solve the problems of losing leads. We solve the problem of how quickly are we following up on leads. We really built a great customer journey with the tools they had at the time. Concurrently, we were using a different system in our customer service department to track tickets, to track interactions with our customers, because one of the things we found in a customer service survey that we had done was that our clients weren't happy with our responsiveness, how quickly we were getting back to our emails. So the platform that we were on was failing. We took a look at trying to bring everything into the same silo and combine versus continue to divide our operations and have them siloed, not talk to each other. We looked at the desk solution that Zoho offered and found it to be a better value than what we were paying for what we were using, and gave us much more capability. So we've rolled that out. We've been on that for 3 years now. Then through those two modules of the Zoho platform, we went to analytics, we went to forms, we went to survey, and it just continued to grow. Last year, we moved over to the one platform, which allowed us to give all of the capabilities to everybody in the organization. And it's just been like a rocket ship. I'm getting requests. People want to try this. They want to try Click. The marketing automation suite we're just dabbling into, and it's phenomenal. We're replacing what we were doing for our social with the social solutions in Zoho. So now we're going into AI, and we're trying to implement AI in a way that allows us to track our user sentiment within the Zoho desk and the Zoho CRM platforms, to give some predictive suggestions, and to roll out our knowledge base to our customers so that then they have access to self-serving self-help solutions.
You know, Keith, I hear this from every Zoho One user. I don't think I met several, and I asked them, "What is there a commonality?" Of course, there's some commonality, but when you look at the 50 or so applications that Zoho offers in one, I don't think anyone. I mean, you can't find 50 customers that are using 20 common ones. So
Right.
I asked Zoho once. I said, "Guys, is this deliberate?" They go, "No, it's completely organic. We don't pressure anybody to adopt any one of our applications. It's just people seem to find them, get comfortable with them." So that it's fantastic that, I've lived in the enterprise world for so long. Salespeople love to sell suites. Suites never get implemented because they're convenient for the vendor. Now they're
Right.
convenient for the buyer. In this case, because it's organics, you decide what to use. Your users are deciding where to go with Zoho. So that's fantastic. Um, talk about AI a little bit. I mean, clearly the whole world is. But before I go to AI, you're a guy who measures a lot, right? So tell me some measurements that, from a Zoho perspective, you go, "Wow, I could not have done that 4 years ago."
Great question. Number one, our annual sales production was 6 and 7 million once we implemented Zoho, and then in combination with some sales realignment, sales process changes, we went from 6 million in 2019, 2020 to 18 million the following year. 15 million the year after that. Right now, we're tracking for about another $18 million year. Without the capability of really measuring the funnel and the velocity, volume and velocity are the things that we look at. How many leads do we have coming in? Where are they coming from? How quickly do they move through? And from which sources that our leads are coming from are we getting the highest close ratio and the highest average order value, excuse me. And so to be able to look and see what channels we're implementing that are giving us the biggest bang for our marketing dollar, it informs us as to where we should spend more marketing dollars. So we know that as we're increasing spend in all of our digital advertising channels, we're able to be selective and have a rifle, a sniper approach versus a shotgun approach, just throw more money at it.
And I presume losing leads, that's something you've been able to control.
Yeah, we know what we know what we're closing, and we know what our closing ratios are. We know from the time a lead comes in, we know what the percentage is. And so having those numbers as an organization also allows us to help manage our individual business development managers, our sales team, because you can see when you compare the stack of numbers from one to the other and you look at the results, you can see what factors are important, how quickly you follow up with somebody. We all know this intrinsically, but how many organizations are really tracking that and then tracking that towards an individual salesperson's effectiveness? So when we're managing an individual that may not be working to their full potential, we can go back and look and see, it looks like on average you're 60% slower on getting back to a lead when it's assigned to you than everybody else. Do you suspect this might have something to do with what that bottom number is?
So, one of the fascinating things about Zoho is the number of requests they get from customers, right? Tell me what you push them for, because I'm sure people go, "Oh God, I wish they were more than CRM. I wish they could do this. I wish they could do this in the warehouse. I wish they could do this for the accountants and so on." Have you pushed them for certain functionality?
The biggest thing that I'm pushing for is global support, because as we're franchised now, I have some teams in Netherlands, I have teams in the UK that want to have local support, and the Zoho team's been very accommodating and providing local contacts where available. As far as platform wise, not so much. The velocity that they're rolling new solutions out, I'm needing to catch up and keep up. So I think the biggest thing that I have as a request for them is I just need some resources to sit down and help me implement, especially the AI solutions, which we're moving forward into. But I know that there's a version of it that's a more fully realized version of the solution that I'm going to create. And I just want to make sure that I'm using all the tools that I have to the maximum benefit.
So let's drill into AI. The whole generative AI is kind of taken the world by I wouldn't say surprise, but certainly woken us up, right? I mean, the adoption of OpenAI, ChatGPT, and so on has just been unheard of. Zoho has a more measured approach to AI. Describe in your terms what you like about their approach and where you see it headed.
Yeah, interesting situation. Regarding AI, you're exactly right. And in our lifetime, I don't think we've ever seen technology come in sort of be below the radar, and within the last 6 months it's just accelerated to the ionosphere. It's brilliant to watch. I was fortunate in that one of my colleagues turned me on to it a few months ago and said, you need to start looking at this. So we've been looking at it for a while now, and have been using the Chat GPT from OpenAI platform for content writing, content development, white paper, that sort of thing, as I know a lot of people are. There's definitely some precautions you have to take.
I can call you a prompt guru then?
Not yet. It's still early. That remains to be seen. Let's ask ChatGPT what it thinks. But I continue to formulate questions to ask it. It's interesting the different platforms that it's on, and the difference between what database they're calling on and what creativity they've had. I've had one platform, who shall remain nameless. I've asked it about my history, and it just completely made up a story that has nothing to do with who I've actually been. But I liked it. It was very intriguing. Like, wow, that's a different version of my life for sure. What I like about what I'm seeing with Zoho and their implementation of it is, first of all, they've adopted the platform that I consider to be current best in class, or at least in the upper segment, the upper quadrant, right, top right quadrant, and that being OpenAI, setting up the API with OpenAI so that I can use it for my customer service agents to suggest questions and to give mood analysis of the email that's coming in. And we're just at the beginning phases of implementing this, and what is our practice going to look like using it. I want to use it for data segmentation, data analysis, for the mass amounts of data that we have coming in the form of emails from our customers, because our customer will email us, and that's what starts a ticket. I'm looking at it to become a chat bot. So a client of mine might have a question, and rather than have to talk to somebody or wait for email, to be able to type it in and have a list of articles come up that they can self-rescue on if they want, versus engage in a formal
interactive FAQ then.
Yeah, exactly. And then that Zoom intends to replace that with their own platform, which I think is a brilliant move. And over time, they're going to develop their own engine, their own AI engine, and implement that as part of their solution.
They're very big on privacy. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage that in the world of generative AI, because Gen AI, like you say, especially the public web, my God, it could be a wild west.
It is already, and in addition, Vinny, not just privacy, but authenticity, right? Like, is this real? My son just graduated from University of Washington Law School. He was talking about a case where recently a lawyer used AI to write their brief.
Yep.
Submitted the brief, and the brief was written very well based on this case, and the cases were made up. it just made up a case, and so it probably going to end up being disbarred because he presented facts to a judge that weren't facts.
Yep, that's where the risks come in, right? I mean, I'm hearing of some big boo boos that even large
Yeah.
which is, you upload something to OpenAI, suddenly it becomes public domain, almost public domain. Are you looking at, is your HR excited about some of the opportunities, or are you not? Are you a little removed from that?
We're a little, we're optimistically cautious as we move with HR because of, we're in multiple states. We have multiple state laws. We need to make sure that we're abiding by, in addition to, everything federal. So we're being very, very probably more conservative on the HR side. We also are using AI within our operations, and this is one of the great calls from our industry, from fulfillment in general, from routing of trucks to pick paths within the warehouse, to just finding the nugget in the massive amounts of data that can give you enough knowledge to make one or two key decisions to change the way you do business.
Yeah, interestingly, I was at an SAP event after we met, and one of their Gen AI use cases was in transportation management. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the use cases are going to be pretty wild.
Yep, for sure.
So before we close off, let's talk about the other big hyped up technology that's come out in the last week, which is the Apple Vision Pro. Do you see any applications in your?
Yeah, there will be applications, and this is another new technology rolling out. I haven't spent much time. I haven't sat down with it yet, so not yet sure. It remains to be seen.
The funny thing is, it is priced for. You got to think long and hard before you adopt it, right? I mean, $3,500. But it's very elegant. I just think it's going against the grain of many companies are saying, come back to the office. This would have been a perfect remote office tool if it had been introduced 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah. I am. We're all challenged by. We had 3 years or 2 years of a petri dish, of a science experiment that said, how productive can businesses be if their workforces are working from home? Now, obviously, in a warehouse and a fulfillment situation, there's not a work from home opportunity. So we had people still in the warehouse, but all of our information workers were working from home, and we didn't really see a deprecation of productivity. In fact, I felt more productive than ever because I had the bedroom commute, right from the bedroom to the desk, and I would find myself actually working more hours just because I was there. Yeah, so the immersive technologies, as far as making us feel like we're there's something about being in the office, and we know this has been our careers. The water cooler, right? The friction that happens when you're rubbing around with your coworkers just by seeing somebody and having that impromptu conversation. Yeah, I don't think virtual will ever replace that, but it can proxy for it pretty well. I think that the younger generations, who are giving up already more of the tactile experience, right? They never read a newspaper, maybe never have held a book. This may be more appropriate for their generation, but for ours, we still like the toe to toe, knee to knee, eye to eye way of doing business.
Well, I'm just fascinated. I was one of Gartner, the research firm's first remote analysts, not because they were visionary, but because I refused to move to Stanford in New Jersey. So the technology I had was a first generation multi-feature printer, right? The early generation. I think it had a fax machine, a copy machine, and a printer. They authorized one more phone line for me, so I could dial up at 14 14.4K baud.
The fact that we know the term baud is just enough in itself, right?
The fact that that was remote technology and what Apple is introducing just shows how far we've come.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. So, if it's going to be a matter of you schedule a meeting and say, is this going to be conference in real life or virtual?
Well, Kate, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thanks for spending some time. And your journey with Zoho is similar to what I've heard, but you're obviously taking them in new areas. I'm sure you'll push them in vertical areas. And though, like you say, you're just trying to find what all they have, and they already have a lot for what they deliver. So, thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you, Vinnie. Nice spending time with you again.